You gonna come say hello this early in the video? Oh, hello. She's stepping all over me. There's food up there that she wants, but she can't have it because there's grape jelly on it. She knows it's up there. She's smart. Hi, hello, welcome back, Bookmas Besties, to another video. As you can see by today's title, we are going to be talking about my 2026 TBR, not book releases, because I can't compile a list of 2026 book releases because I am too far behind on book releases, and 2026 is my year to catch up. So, we're not doing one of those videos. I can't do one of those videos because honestly, half the releases that are coming out are for like books 2, 3, 4 in the series, and I haven't even read book 1 in said series. So, we're behind. We need to catch up. But with my current Animal Crossing obsession going on, I can't catch up. But I digress. Welcome to day 6 of Bookmas. Welcome. Hi. Hello. Are we enjoying Bookmas? Today's video was going to be a different video than the one I'm filming right now, but I decided against that, and that'll be the next video you see. So Bookmas Day 7 will be what I was originally planning on uploading today, but I'm deciding to upload this today instead. I digress. Again, I'm babbling where I don't need to. One, if you hear talking in the background, I do have a live stream like on over here. That's not really important, but like I need to get through these live streams to get to the extra like goodness, okay? So we're doing that. But I have my list here. My Notion is pulled up with my 26 books for 2026. I originally didn't think I was going to do 26 books, but I thought, why the hell not? Why not? I think by the time 2030 rolls around, I will stop doing like the year and the year into it, because that's a lot. But it may end before that. We'll see. But I don't own a lot of these books currently at the moment because I am very picky about how I buy my books. If you know, you know. And that's going to continue into 2026. So when I talk about my goals and stuff, you'll know what I mean. But I don't own a lot of the books that are on here quite yet. But this is also, some of these books are tackling 2 birds with 1 stone because I am participating in Romantasy Bingo by Covers with Cassidy. And some of these books are on my Romantasy Bingo. So 2 birds, 1 stone. So that way I'm not creating myself like a 30 book mandatory TBR that I really need to get to in 2026. So, but let's hop straight into this because we have 26 books to talk about. A lot of these, like I said, are like older books that I really truly need to just bite the bullet and get into. So let's just go ahead and start. The first book we have on the list is King of Wrath by Anna Wong, which this series comes after her Twisted series, which I literally have behind me. I literally only have Twisted Lies and Twisted Hate left in the Twisted series to read. I'm going to try and plan on reading Twisted Hate this month. We'll see what happens. But I only have the last 2 books in that series left, and so I think it's feasible for me to add this to the 2026 TBR. I'm hoping that I can really just kind of tackle this throughout 2026. But I was also waiting for this series because I know this is a 7-book series and 1 book comes out per year because this series is based off like the 7 deadly sins, and each book is like the man represents a different sin. So you have Wrath. I can't think of anything else because I can only think of King of Wrath at the moment, and so I was also waiting to like read the series until it was closer to being complete. And I'm pretty sure we're like 5 or 6 books into this series now with them being out. So it's time for me to pick it up and catch up. That way when the next book releases, I can pick it up. Next up on my 2026 TBR is Strange the Dreamer by Lonnie Taylor. I have heard really, really good things about this. This is a recent purchase of mine. I did not haul this in my book haul video, but literally like a week after that book haul, I filmed my book haul video, and I'm going to 2nd and Charles and doing some shopping, and I got this duet, so I have both books on my shelf now. I thought, why not? They were only like $3 at 2nd and Charles, and they're in pretty pristine like condition, so I was like, why not? Why not? So I do have it on my TBR. This has been on my mental TBR for a very, 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 very long time. Like, I think since I, like, got into reading in, like, 2021 era-ish. So this has been on my mental TBR for a long time, and I finally have a physical copy. I've actually been looking for these specific copies because they're so pretty. I wanted the paperbacks, but I finally got them. I'm rambling, but this is on my 2026 TBR. I really don't know anything about this book. I don't know anything about this book, and I'm not sure to admit that because I like to go into my books blind, and so it's gonna stay that way. I don't know if it's fantasy. She writes very little lyrical writing in this duet, I believe, so we'll see how I like it. Next book is another one. There's one that is going to be tackling my Two Birds with One Stone, where it's Reign of Shadow and Endings by Melissa K. Warwick, which is the follow-up series to the Lady of Darkness series by Melissa K. Warwick. I truly need to start my reread of the series and get through this series so I can get to Reign of Shadow and Endings. I know people say you don't have to read all of the Lady of Darkness books to read Reign of Shadow and Endings, but when an author has an interconnected world like this where they plan out series on series on series in this one world, I'm going to read them in order, okay? So that means that I need to finish the 5-book series that is Lady of Darkness so I can read Reign of Shadow and Endings and have the whole full world. This is another one that I was trying to wait until the series completed to start. Also, another reason why I kind of stopped reading Lady of Darkness, although I could have really kept going with it, but I was trying to wait until book 4 was out so I'm not starting another incomplete series, because I don't need to be in a lot of incomplete series. I'm in the middle of so many incomplete series. It's insane. We will talk about that in my series video that's coming your way soon, but Summer TBR is also on my Romantasy Bingo TBR for hard mode for like one of the last few like squares on Romantasy Bingo for like series. The next book on the list is by one of my new favorite authors, new auto by author for me. If you watched my rating 5-star prediction video that I posted for day 3 of Bookmas, you will know who exactly I'm talking about. And the book I'm talking about is You're No Better by Andrew Joseph White, which is his 4th book that came out this year in 2025. I want to try and keep up with his releases. I am like 2 books behind because he has a previous release from last year and then this year's release, and he's already working on his 2026 release. That man puts in the works, okay? The works, all right? So with that being said, I need to catch up. I need to make sure that I am reading all his books. We're putting You're No Better on here strictly for the fact that it's his newest release. So obviously that makes more sense for me to read. But also Compound Fracture is immediately getting bought when I can find it for a really reasonable price. Or either I find it at Barnes & Noble soon rather than later, because I need some more Andrew Joseph White in my life. I fear this may be one of the first books that I read in 2026, like in the first couple months of 2026, because I am too invested in Andrew, anything that man writes. And this book, no exception. I've seen the synopsis, I've seen the cover for it, I've read things from it, like I need it in my hands. The next book should also come as no surprise to anyone if you have seen any content from me, if you have watched anything from me, and you know how much I love Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. They are some of my all-time favorite books. They are literally displayed right here with their dust jackets off because they are too stunning to not have their dust jackets off. So this gives you some indication, but we are at A Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, which is a prequel book to this one, and I heard that the yearning in this one is peak. Like, it's even better than what is in this one. So I'm immediately 10 times more invested in the story than I probably normally would be. But I digress. We are adding into the TBR. I know it came out this year, and she probably has another release for 2026. Like I said, I'm very behind on releases. There are still books that were released in like 2024 that I still need to read. I'm very behind, okay? And I can admit it. This next one is going to shock people when I say that I haven't read it, because I have not read it. And that is A Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, which is the follow-up series to the Percy Jackson series, where we have the Greek and the Roman like camps come together, I believe, to fight this one big battle. And I have not read that series. So we're gonna put The Lost Hero on here because that is the first book in that series. I don't know if that series is 4 or 5 books long. I'm not really sure. All I know is that you kind of have to read those in order to read the few books that Rick Riordan has put out where Percy Jackson's like 18 years old or so. And so I need to read this series. I never read it as a kid. I read Percy Jackson all the way through multiple times. And I actually plan on doing a reread before I go into The Lost Hero. But I fly through Percy Jackson books like there is no tomorrow. So I'm not really worried about not like getting to this book because I have full faith in myself that I want to reread the Percy Jackson series and I will fly through them because they are my favorite series of all time. Like, no doubt about it. That's like, if you had to ask me a book that I love off the top of my head, it's either going to be The Cruel Prince that comes out first or Percy Jackson. So we have to read The Lost Hero. We have to. I have to go through the whole Rick first, okay? There's no way I can't, and I gotta start picking back up here. It's a book that I really, really enjoyed, and that is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is the second book in the Atlas series for her. I read the Atlas 6 at the end of 2024 with the intention to get to this in 2025. It just never happened. I picked up so many books, started so many series, that I just forgot about books that I reread at the end of 2024 to go into the sequels. And this was one of them. I cannot lie. I completely forgot about this until recently when I found the Atlas Complex at 2nd and Charles on the same book trip that I got Strange and Dreamer. But I digress. I have this. It's been sitting on my shelf for like a year or so now. I can tell you exactly how long it's been sitting on my shelf because I write the dates that I get my books. Yeah, no, I got this on 5/19/2024. It's been sitting on my shelf for nearly a year and 7 months. So yeah, no, we gotta get to this in 2026. I preferably want to read this before the 2-year mark of me owning this book, because this is pathetic in the worst way possible. Okay, thank you. So we will be getting into this. I can't really tell you much about this. I honestly don't know where this book is gonna go after the ending of book 1, but it's on my 2026 TBR. The next book I have for you is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is one that has been on my radar for a very, very long time. I'm just not very much a high epic fantasy girly. But then earlier, a couple months ago, I read The Jasmine Throne, and I was like, I want to read more high epic fantasy books. And so I decided that this is going on TBR. This is not the only high/epic fantasy book that I have on my TBR. It's just this is the one that's going on the 2026 TBR. I've heard really good things about this. I feel like The City of Brass is a staple in the fantasy world, so I have to read it. Like, it's a mandatory read that I just can't like skip over and pass by. I'm also currently reading Mistborn, so maybe I'm just branching out a bit more from romantasy in my YA fantasy books, and I'm trying to read more, I'm trying to branch out more. And this and The Jasmine Throne and Mistborn are me trying to branch out just a tad bit more. The next book I have for you is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick, I believe is the author. This is one that I've seen like go around a couple times. The main reason I want to read this is because someone that I follow on Book Talk, I cannot remember her name for the life of me right now. This series is her favorite series of all times, and me and her kind of have similar feelings about books. There are some books that I like that she doesn't like, and then there are some books that she's read that I have never read that I will probably never read, but that's not the point. The point being is I personally would, the premise of this book sounds really, really good, but also the way she sold that book to me has been really, really good, and this has been sitting on my TBR on like Goodreads and stuff for a while now, and I've just not picked it up, and so it's time that I finally do pick it up, and so we're putting it on the TBR. I think this is another like high/epic fantasy book. I'm not quite sure for sure though. It could be an urban fantasy. I don't really know the setting of this book. All I know is how it was sold to me, and the fact that it's kind of been on my radar since before that creator talked about it. So now it's just made me want to read it even more. The next book on my TBR is a romance book. I have a couple of these kind of sprinkled in just to give myself a break from all the fantasy and stuff I have on here because there's a lot of it on here. And that is Praise by Sarah Kate. I know this series was originally indie, I believe, and then it got picked up by Source Books. I believe the romance branch of Source Books. And so I bought this earlier this year, I believe, back in April or May, somewhere in there. And so it's been on my radar for a while though, even before then. I'm pretty sure I read this because the MMC's name is Emerson, and I remember very vividly being like, Emerson. I like the name Emerson. So yeah. This is very floppy. Anyways, Praise by Sarah Kate is going on TBR. I know this is, I think, a kink club. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that these follow people who started a kink club, and they all have different kinks and things like that. Obviously, by the way this one is titled, I'm going to assume it's a praise kink in here. I do know that in one of these books, we have a MFM or MMF romance going on in there somewhere, or it's a poly romance. So, I want to get to that one, but this is another one that I need to read and want to read. The next book I have is one that I have put on many, many TBRs in the year 2025 and have yet to read it. So that was going on a 2026 mandatory TBR, and that is Carval by Stephanie Garber. This book has been sitting on my shelves all year long, and I have yet to read it. So it's going on a TBR. Sorry, not sorry to myself. You did it to yourself. Maybe if you would have read it, we could have compromised here somewhere. This has in fact been sitting on my shelf since April of 2024. So that's even crazier. I've had this for a year and 8 months. Embarrassing. I digress though, so it's going on TBR because I also have all 3 books of this series and the first book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. So to solve that, it's going on the mandatory TBR, and then we're going to add Legendary onto my TBR every month until I read it. Next up is another fantasy book, and it is Beautiful Fiend by Lola King. Now, I know nothing about Lola King. All I know is this is a dark romance book, and that's pretty much majority of what I read is dark romance when I read romance. There's a couple of sports romances that I've read, not very many. I did DNF a sports romance in November. We don't have to talk about that, but this is one I don't really know anything about. Again, I go into my books very blindly, so a lot of times I know zero zilch about the books that I'm fucking talking about, and I'm so sorry about that, but it's just the way I prefer to go into my books. And so this one is another one that I basically know nothing about. And it's going to stay that way. The next book that I'm talking about is a romantic book. I think this is one of the couple of romantic books that I have on here. And that is, crap, I literally looked at it. Heavenly Bodies by Imani Eri. I remember hearing about this book from Raven-Haired Reader, which is Rachel, a couple years ago when it was indie published, and she read it and really, really loved it, and now it's getting trad published, and I'm pretty sure book 2 recently came out, so that means book 3 is getting released next year. And so I want to get into this series because I have heard really, 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 really good things about this book series, about the book in general. I don't know very much about it. I do know that it's celestial based, or there are these celestial beings and things like that, and one of them is destined to fall in love with someone and then die, apparently. I don't know if that's actually correct. Don't quote me on that. That could be too far off base, but it also could be too close to base. I don't know. Like I said, I try to go into books as blind as possible, but when a book becomes popular, you see all types of things about it, and so I'm seeing a million and one things about this book. Okay, so yes, it's on my TBR, like I said, going to my books blind, so I don't know too much, but that's the gist of what I do know. The next book is Heaven's Official Blessing. I'm not even going to attempt to try and figure out how to say the author's name because I'm pretty sure it's like Mandarin, Chinese, somewhere in that language area. All I know is I have seen this around a couple of times through a couple of different creators that I follow and see on my TikTok and my YouTube, and they really, really enjoyed it. I had a roommate back in college when I went to my 1 year of college where she had read like 2, 3, 4 of these volumes. I don't know how long this series is. I'm pretty sure it's also BL, like gay. I'm not quite sure on that either. I literally know nothing about this one again, but it has been on my radar for a really long time, and like I said, I needed a break from all the fantasy and stuff, and I'm pretty sure this has pictures in it. And listen, it's a graphic novel or some kind, a manga, whatever you want to call it, something of the sorts, and I want to read it. Okay, sue me. The next book that we have here is one that I, again, bought recently, but has been on my TBR, like mental TBR, my actual TBR for a very long time, and that is These Fine Delights by Chloe Gong. Now, I also bought this because recently her new release, Cold Wire, has been blowing up my For You page of everybody reading it and really liking it, but also her talking about it. And I know this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, which also was putting me off from it because I know how this is going to end, but obviously it's not the exact story of Romeo and Juliet, so I can't judge it based just on that. But this has been previously on one of my yearly TBRs way back when I originally first started posting on YouTube. All those videos are gone. We just have everything starting at the beginning of this year up until now. So I'm putting it on the TBR again because I just need to read it, especially now that I have a physical copy of the book. It's time to just suck it up and do it. The next book is another one that has been on my mental TBR for a long while, can't lie, and that is The Invisible Life of Ada LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I did a couple years ago read A Darker Shade of Magic. I probably should have put this on there, but when I thought about it, I have a lot of beginning of series on here already as is. I don't need to add a crap ton of them when I already have so many of them on here. And so I added this one instead because I know it's a standalone. I know a lot about this book, actually. I believe this is about Ada LaRue who makes a wish that she were invisible or something, and then every time she meets someone, they immediately forget her once they walk away, they forget her face, until one person remembers her. And it's that. I think. I say that this is the one I know the most about on this list, but it feels like I know nothing based on the terrible synopsis I just tried to give you. I can't lie, that just sounded terrible in my head. I do want to get deeply into V.E. Schwab. I know she had Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil come out this year, and that is a very beloved book. I think it won a Goodreads Choice Award, or it was a nominee for a Goodreads Choice Award this year. And I want to get into more V.E. Schwab books, like I said. I just haven't, because there are so many books out there for me to read that I need to, but this is one that I really want to get to. That I've heard really good things about. I've heard really mixed reviews about, where people either love it, they hate it, or they're neutral about it. But I feel like I'm going to be one of the people who loves it. So it's added to the TBR. The next one is one that I'm very excited about because I read Belladonna back in last month in November. Really, 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 really enjoyed it. And I was like, I want more gothic, fantasy, romance books. And I thought about Carrie Lake and how all of her books are gothic, and I chose to put one of her books on here, which is Anathema. I know this is a trilogy, I believe, and the second book, Eldritch, literally just came out a couple months ago, and we don't know when we're going to get book 3 quite yet, but I still want to get started on this because these books are chunky from what I remember seeing of them. I don't know if they've gotten trad published or not, but I do know that these are some very popular books. A lot of creators that I see has read this and loved it, like Laura from, I don't even remember her name. Emmy has read this, I believe. Bailey has read this from Bailey's Bookshelf, and she's my #1 gothic girly that I'm looking into now. Because I originally only followed her because she was friends with Emmy and Laura and Larry and all of them. But now that I know she was on gothic books, I want them because I loved Belladonna. So yeah, Anathema. Oh, another dark romance book that I have seen around. Okay, I heard that this is very sad. There are a lot of trigger warnings going into this trilogy. That is Insatiable by Lee Rivers, is it? Yeah, Lee Rivers is the End of Darkness trilogy, but Insatiable is the first book. I heard this is a very sad book series, but they do get their happy ending in the end. It's just there's a lot of pain to get to that point, and I'm like, you know what? I read Haunting Adeline. I think I could read Insatiable. I think those two books are like along the same kind of lines, I believe. And Haunting Adeline, 5-star, top tier, god tier book series for like book duet for me. And so I have a feeling that I will really enjoy the End of Darkness series. And so I'm putting on my TBR because, like I said, we need those little breaks between all this fantasy. I think this is literally the last romance book I have on the list. So the next book is one that I've had on my TBR on my physical bookshelf since March 31st of 2024. And that is A Demon King by Cindo Williams Chima. I know nothing about this book. I do think this is a early 2000s fantasy book, YA fantasy, I believe. I really don't know what this is about. I'm pretty sure this interconnects with another one of her series. Yeah, this is copyrighted 2009. So like I said, early 2000s, just before the tens. And there, the little mid 2000s. So I don't really know anything about this book. I don't think I want to, but also I might read a synopsis at some point. It's just not going to be right now. But I need to get this off my shelf. I need to get this read and then determine if I like it and I'll be continuing on, or if I read it and I don't like it and I will be unhauling it and it will be getting sent to a new home. We will see. I don't know. I just know this book has been sitting on my shelf for far too long unread, so it's getting added to the stack of books for my 2026 TBR. The next book is another one that's kind of like been on my TBR for a while now, and that is The Blood Trials by Andy Davenport, which is her like duology, I believe. It was supposed to be a trilogy. I know she came out with her first romantic book this year, but this is her like sci-fi fantasy book that she put out a couple years ago, and I've heard really, really, really good things about it. I had a physical copy of this book, but I unhauled it a while back because I was like, I don't think I'll ever get into this. But again, trying to read more high epic sci-fi fantasy books, and this has been on my radar for a very long time, so I will be picking up another physical copy at some point in time. I just don't know when, and it will be getting read in 2026. I have to say it will get read, or if I don't, then I'm manifesting that none of these books will get read, and I at least want to tackle half of these books on this TBR, maybe more than half. I want to say like 75% of them, but you never know with me. The next one is one that I am interested in because I watched Becca read all 4 of the books in this series this year. I believe it was this year. And she absolutely loved them. She even cried in one of them. And that is Malice by John Gwynn, which is I don't know what name of the series is. All I know is you're following this story where like it has been prophesized of this big battle happening between good and evil, and it is coming to fruition in this time frame. And that it's very slow moving and the pieces are very slow moving, but once you get into it and all the pieces start connecting, then everything kind of falls into place the way it should. So hopefully I will really like it the same way Becca liked it, because me and Becca have very much similar taste, and I trust that woman with every fiber of my being. The next book I have is one that is a TikTok sensation, and I believe it is a duology. So that's what's making me add it to the list, is that it's only going to be 2 books long, and the book 2 is coming out and next year, I believe. So maybe this is one I can knock off like that in 2026. And that's Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. This is one that, like I said, that has become a sensation everywhere because of the crazy cliffhanger plot twist at the end of the book. Now, I have seen a couple people not like this, but for like the most part, 90% of the people that I have seen read this have absolutely loved it, talked nonstop about it, and I have to read it. Not just because I want to hop on the bandwagon of staying up to popular books. As you can see, a lot of these books aren't really that popular. If you've never heard of them, that's my point. I try not to read too many of the popular books. I try to make sure that if I do, there's something I'm genuinely interested in. And this is one that I'm genuinely interested in just because it sounds really good, like something that's never been done before. So I want to read it. The next book that I have here is another one. It's another like high-end fantasy book, but this one is series and series and series and series long, and that is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Farseer trilogy, but the Farseer trilogy is like the beginning of this whole world that Robin Hobb has that's called the Realm of the Elderlings. I'm taking a big leap here by doing this. Truly, truly am. But I remember listening to the audiobook a couple years ago and really liking it, but I didn't take everything in. When it comes to a book like this is what made me realize listening to the audiobook of this is what made me realize that I need to read books like this physically, or I either need to immersive read, have the audiobook playing and looking at the physical book, or I will not take in what is being said. I know this is following Fitz, who is the bastard to the son of the noble Prince Chivalry. And he's been raised in the shadow of the royal court, been left to his own devices, and he is treated like an outcast. Like I said, I listened to the audiobook of this, so I remember a lot of it because it was kind of playing, and I was kind of like subtly listening to it, but not fully listening to it. And so I know a lot about this one, truly do. I really, really liked it when I read it, so I will be physically reading it this time around and continuing on with the series. But like I said, this takes me through a journey. As you can see, this is like all the series that interconnect, really, I believe. So I have a lot to get to. The next one is one that I'm super excited about as well. And that is Quicksilver by Kylie Hart. Brimstone came out this year, and possibly book 3 will be coming out in 2026. I believe 2026. Gosh, I'm thinking through too far ahead. Hopefully book 3 will come out in 2026. I don't know how long this book series is slated out to be. All I know is that it is getting released, and I am excited. I've heard nothing but good things about the series. And people really, really, really enjoy it. I'm not too keen on Kingfisher because that name is throwing me for a loop, but people seem to love them anyway. So I'm going to read this and form my own opinions on it. This has been on my TBR for a very, very long time, ever since it was indie published. I just never got to it indie published, and now it is tried published with stunning additions for it, and I want them. I do. I really do. So I'm going to get to these books in 2026. Hopefully I can read both of them and be prepared for book 3's release. That hopefully comes out next year. The next book, the second before the last book that we have here is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owens. If you know me, Greek mythology, Percy Jackson, best friends. So when I heard about this book, I immediately knew I needed to get into it. But again, I'm doing sucky with keeping up with releases. I'm pretty sure book 1 was released in 2024. Book 2 came out earlier this year. And I don't know if this is a 3-book series, 4-book series. I don't know how long it's going to be. And I have still yet to read the first one. Again, I think I know a lot about this one actually as well. In this book, we're following this girl, and these gods choose people to complete in these like trials for them, and she gets chosen by Hades, I believe is like what's going on here. I know little tiniest bit about this. That's literally what all I know about it is she gets picked by Hades, and apparently they like have a romance that goes on. I don't know. Don't ask me. But I love a good Greek mythology. Also, Hades is rarely ever talked about unless he's pictured as the bad guy. And I like that, but I also don't like that. So we're gonna read the book to form an opinion by myself. And the last book we have here, the 26th book on my 2026 TBR, is Rebel Witch by Krista Ciccarelli, which is the second book following Heartless Hunter by Krista Ciccarelli. I read Heartless Hunter earlier this year. This book actually came out earlier this year, and I have still yet to read it, but I also only recently got the physical copy of it, so I think I have an excuse. And so I will be reading this in 2026. I may even read it into this year. No, I won't, because I have too many books to go through, but I digress. I digress. I really need to get to this. I really enjoyed Heartless Hunter. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 5-star, but in hindsight, it's more of a 4.5 star. I was on a high after finishing it and rated it way too fast. But this, I feel, could be a 5-star read for me. If it is done the way I need it to be done, if the yearning I want in it is done perfectly, because holy crap, it goes from enemies to lovers and then back to enemies, and I'm guessing they're gonna start as enemies and go to something and end up lovers by the end. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for this one. And this one also has very high potential of getting read pretty early into the year. But that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is my 2026 TBR. A lot of first books of series, a lot of books that have been on my TBR for way too long that I am putting on here to try and get myself to read, to get off the TBR. And then a lot of mixtures. We have a couple of romances, a lot of fantasy, like a lot. One like dark academia book, and like that's it. It's mainly fantasy. But I digress. We are going to have a good 2026 with these books, these heavenly books that I have picked out. Okay, and so here we are with the books that I own. And then the other like 20 books that I don't own. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If any of the books I put on my 2026 TBR are on your 2026 TBR, you let me know. There probably aren't. I know a lot of people for the 2026 TBR, they have a lot of newer releases. While I do not. So yay. Like I said, I'm so behind. So this is me trying to catch up a little bit. And so yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. I hope you have a great day, evening, night, morning, afternoon, and whatever part of the world you're having it in. I hope you're enjoying Bookmas. Today is day 6. I will see you in day 7 of Bookmas. I am going to go stream for like the next hour, 2 hours, maybe, and then go from there. I may even wait to stream till later tonight. But we will see. I will see you guys in my next one, okay? Goodbye.